Hi everyone, and welcome back for episode 6 of the Teaching Space Utilisation Survey Data video tutorial series. I'm Ben Morland, Director of Education Space Consultancy, and for this episode I'll be taking you through how to create occupancy rate, day and time slot tables and graphs using Microsoft Excel. As with before, I will be continuing to use the Teaching Space Utilisation example spreadsheet I worked through in the last episode. Plus, if you'd like to download a copy of this version that outlines everything I go through in this episode, remember to check out the link below the video. Also, as you may see for this episode, I have upgraded Microsoft Excel Office, so the spreadsheet looks, in terms of its it visually looks a little bit different, but the content is exactly the same. Okay, let's go. Okay, so as you can see, Office 365 looks a little bit different to Office 2010, but the principles are the same and the content is exactly the same as well. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to create some occupancy by time slots table and graphs. So I'm just going to create a new sheet and go back to our institution, select the data we want, which is our institution data, and here, and paste it into our new sheet. And then what we're going to do, I'll just tidy this up so we can see the time slots. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work out occupancy rate per each one of these time slots. So I'm going to go down the bottom here and we're going to add some formulas in. So the first one we want is a sum function, equals sum, open brackets, and then select all the room data for that hour from above. Close the brackets. And then I'm going to put in a slightly more complicated formula, and this is going to be a equals sum if open brackets. And then we're going to select all of this data here and put a comma in, and then we're going to put greater than 0 like that, and then I'm going to select all of our capacity fields for those rooms, and I'm going to put some dollar signs in here for the capacity fields, so as we copy the formula across, it's always looking here rather than moving across with the formula. And then I'm simply going to close the brackets. So what this is doing is it is summing the capacities for every time the rooms were in use. So this is only including the capacity fields for when the rooms were in use. So for example, it will be including this 81 capacity here because the room was in use. But here, where the room wasn't in use and is a 0, it will not be including that 8 in the total here. So if I was to just say add a 1 here, as you can see, it goes up by 8. But if we go back to having this as a 0, it excludes it. So this ensures the occupancy rate is only including, the occupancy rate calculations are only including the rooms when they're in use, which is the principle behind the occupancy rate. And then it is simply to calculate the occupancy. I'll just put that in there so you can see. And then we're going to do an equals, divided by that. And so it equals our sum divided by our sum if formula. And that gives us our occupancy rate for that hour. And I'm just going to change it to a percentage, call it 2 decimal places. And then I'm going to copy this and move it all the way along here and paste it in. And there we have our occupancy rate per time slot. So then, to create the graphs and tables, I'm going to do something similar as we did with our frequency time slot. So to save some time, I'm actually going to pinch the tables that we used in the last version. Let's just pinch all them. Paste them on over here. And as you can see, it's all looking at the right data. So this is a bit of a shortcut, but it does exactly the same thing. So it's worth checking though, just to make sure it's all looking at the same data. And as you can see, it is. And then we got our occupancy rates looking at each of our days along here as such. So I'm just going to relabel this so it doesn't confuse. And then I'm just going to copy that down there, and then I'm going to select all our time slots now because we're going to make our graph. So I've copied all that, I've selected all that, I'm going to insert, let's go recommended table charts. We're going to select that one. It's the chart we've been using so far. I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to make it a little bit larger so we can see all our time slots along here. A little bit larger than that. Okay, so we got all in there. I'm going to format our axes so it goes up to 100%. And then I'm just going to change our title. So by Timeslot, if I could spell it right. And then you got our occupancy rate by time slot graph. And you've got our conditional formatting graph automatically filled out because I took a slight shortcut and copied it from our frequency time slot. And then we're just going to create our occupancy rate by day. So as you can see, this is exactly the same thing that we went through on the frequency time slot. It simply uses it calculates the average occupancy rate for each one of the days that we calculated using these functions here. So this average is the Monday occupancy rate, etc., etc., for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'm just going to select all that data and going to insert another graph. And we're going to go for a bar graph. I have to check that's what we used last time. It is. I'm going to go down here. And then I'm going to change this again to 100. Be nice if that did it automatically for me every time. Someone knows, please let me know. And then I'm going to do occupancy rate by day. And there you can see we've got our occupancy rate by day. So they're pretty similar throughout, but we've got a fairly high one on the Friday in comparison to the others. It looks like it's considerably above, really, actually. So if we look back at our data here, we can see that it's about 7% higher than all the other days. And as you can see from looking at the graph, it also looks like it's higher for quite a lot of the time slots on average across the week. So as you can see, looking at the graph, there's some spikes. The things to look out for on this is if you have low frequency rates and it just so happens that you only have a couple of rooms in use during that hour, and those rooms happen to be large lecture theatres, your occupancy rate, and there's only a couple of people in them, your occupancy rate is going to show a huge dip because those are only rooms in use, and when they're in use, there weren't many people. So it's worth looking if you've got sort of massive peaks or troughs, is to check out why they exist within the data to determine whether it's just a case of there weren't many rooms booked used during that hour. It might be that the rooms were just very well used, in which case that's great and that's what you're looking for, or conversely it might be that there were lots of rooms in use, they just weren't used very well. So again, that would be worth investigating why that is. Okay, so this is occupancy rate by time slot. So you have your tables and your graphs, and then you can simply copy and paste them into your documents. And that's it for this episode. I hope you found this video helpful. As with all these episodes, if you'd like to download the spreadsheet containing all the formulas, just click on the download link below. Also, if you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free to contact me directly using the email address shown on this slide, or feel free to leave your comments in the box below. For the next episode, I'm going to be taking a look at how to create room requirement tables and graphs. This will include new techniques and formulas, so remember to check this out. Finally, if you found this and previous episodes helpful, please do let others know by sharing via social media.